What's going on, guys? I'm Icy Rhythms. Welcome back to another video. And in this one, it sounds really cliche to say, but it really does feel this way. It feels like only yesterday we were talking about teraflops and all this other crap with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. And then again with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. When will you guys learn that this doesn't actually mean that much at all? It means something, sure, but it doesn't really mean that much at all. And in terms of development, and it's been shown time and time again, this really isn't going to have any major impact on the games that we play and the games that we see. And I think the example that I gave on Twitter was, even if Sony had 7 or 8 teraflops and Microsoft really does have their 12 or whatever it is, Sony is still going to make really great games. Probably the games that I prefer to play as far as console gaming goes over the Microsoft Xbox, especially considering unless something changes, Microsoft decides to stop putting their first-party exclusive games on PC. I just can't believe that this is once again a real thing that we're doing. This teraflops thing. Is it really that serious? Does it mean that much to you? Can't we make it about, maybe who has the most games? The games matter, right? The games are kind of a big deal. Who has the most games? Or in the case of, well, some of you already do it, who has the most exclusives? Or some of you like to fall back on Metacritic, who has the most high rated exclusives? I mean, this is a thing with some of you. Can't we at least keep it in the realm of the games themselves? Teraflops? Really? You think 3 or 4 years into the generation, you guys are still going to be talking about teraflops? I mean, I guess maybe if mid-gen refreshes are here to stay, I guess there will be some more teraflop discussion, but this is really a thing that we're having a discussion about. And for my PlayStation people, again, I don't think this is going to matter much. Let's say the rumors are true. The PlayStation 5 only 8 or 9 teraflops, whatever it is. Who cares? Seriously? Do you really think that Sony isn't going to give you a great output of first-party games and give a lot of third parties the proper tools to make awesome games along with great-looking games for the PlayStation 5? Are you really that concerned? Does this mean that much to you? You guys serious? This means so little to me as a gamer, especially someone with a very capable PC, a PC that will far exceed any expectations that you have with the PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox. But I'm going to get a PlayStation 5 regardless. I think I've made that absolutely clear. I've bought every other Sony console. That's always been a thing for me. They're just the console that I prefer at this point. It wasn't always so, but I think after the PS1, not so much with the PS2 and then back again with the PS3 and the PlayStation 4. PlayStation is just my go-to console for a lot of different reasons. A lot of my friends that didn't get into PC gaming or that I've played games with for the last 10 to 15 years, just kind of depends on which friend we're talking about. I mean, they're mostly on PlayStation. So whether that's in real life friends or, acquaintances or people that I do consider awesome people and good friends online, that's a big thing too. I don't really play a lot of online or, competitive games anymore. The co-op stuff is still awesome. If you can give me a good, proper, awesome, co-op game, I'm always down for that. But just to be able to be on the same platform as a lot of the people that didn't make a switch or transition into mostly PC gaming, along with 1 or 2 of the consoles like I did and many other gamers did, that's important for me. So teraflops, 6, 10, 12, 20, it makes no difference. Sony is going to put out at least 6 or 7 games that I really want to play. Does that justify $400 to $600 purchase? I don't know. I guess that just depends on who you ask. I think 10 to 15 games probably does, but if I'm only going to play 5 or 6 games, that's not going to happen. But if I'm only going to play 5 or 6 of the top first party exclusives or something, then I could see how one would argue it's not really worth it to get a PlayStation 5. But thankfully, that is not the case. Teraflops mean very little to me, even in the PC space. I'm not really thinking about that when I'm buying certain hardware. It's not a thing that I think about. I'm thinking about performance and other things. I mean, hardware definitely determines a lot of that, but in the case of the console-only gamer, which I think this video applies most to, I just don't see what you guys are concerned about. I think if Sony and Microsoft give you guys a 4K native image at, a very steady 30 FPS, and maybe some games can play at 60 and possibly even still remain at 4K, that's awesome. Isn't that enough? Isn't that great? I mean, that's better than what we're getting with this generation in terms of resolutions and performance. I mean, that's really where I want to be at. I want to talk about frame rates, and Microsoft has done that to some small extent. I want to talk about frame rates that we haven't really seen on consoles, upwards of 90 or even 100 frames or more. I think there was some talk with Rainbow Six Siege, if I'm not mistaken, that on the Pro and the X, they do run at like 80 or 90 frames or something. Someone will have to correct me on that in the comments section, but I remember reading that when the Pro and the X were first coming out, that you could actually play at very high frame rates on that game. I don't know if it's a setting that Ubisoft allowed people to tick on and off, but if that's the case, something like that is pretty incredible. But I'm also thinking about not teraflops, but just the overall hardware advantages that you'll have with older games, right? Like just playing Uncharted 4 at like 60 frames a second or higher. 4K image or any of that mess, that doesn't really matter to me. I'll continue to play it at 1080p, or what would be great if Sony finally allowed being able to select a resolution like 1440p for those of us that like playing on a monitor or something. Like that would be cool, I think. Get with the program, Sony. 1440p is a very happening thing. It's very relevant, at least in the PC space. I don't think there's any 1440p TVs that are selling these days, or did they even make a 1440p TV ever? Is that a thing? I don't know, but what I do know is I expect the PlayStation 5 as well as the Xbox to do very well this next generation. I still think, and I would like to be wrong because it would be just interesting to see someone else on top, but I still think even if Microsoft brings out like a crazy number of exclusives and they're all really, really good, and whether they're on PC or not, that's not really what this conversation is about. I think even if they have a lot of exclusives and they're all really good and they're doing everything that they're doing now and being very consumer friendly, I still think that the PlayStation 5 will probably outsell it and probably still have 2 or 3 games that appeal to me a lot more over the Xbox. I mean, who can be sure? That remains to be seen, but at this point, that's what I'm rolling with, and you guys should not be rolling with these teraflop discussions. I think most of you anyway don't even really know what discussion you're engaging in and what these things actually mean. You're just talking out of your ass. It's a lot of hot air coming from you people, and I can't understand it. When are we going to learn that at the end of the day, at the end of the generation, the teraflop discussion won't even matter? It won't even be something that we're talking about unless we're talking about the PlayStation 6, which I will also buy as long as Sony and Microsoft decide not to, go full on streaming of some kind. That would be a huge mistake. It's not working for Google. If it's not working for Google, this tech giant, if Stadia is a flop, you guys need to think about that. And I don't just mean people watching this video, but I'm talking about Sony and Microsoft, and possibly if Nintendo is thinking about that as well. Think about that. If Google is failing, and it's possible that Google just hasn't done all the right things and made all the right moves to make that work. But if Google, this huge company, right? They're right up there with Microsoft, of course, but if they can't make it work, then I just don't see how it would work on something like the the PlayStation 6 or the PlayStation 7. I think we're pretty far off from a console where it can be all streaming, just for the simple fact that the average internet connections and stability overall, especially here in the US, just isn't where it needs to be for something like that to be possible for a long time. So that's for another video, another rant. Thank you guys for watching. Teraflops, they don't matter. Play the games, enjoy the games. There's going to be a lot of great ones, I feel, and probably one of the best generations in terms of game output and quality maybe that we've seen yet. You guys have a good one, man. Thanks for all the continued support. Peace.